8fig is like as much a people-driven organization as it is a data-driven one. I think in our content marketing and through a lot of our efforts, we're really focused on showing that the sellers and the employees are all at the heart of everything that we do. We're not a big national bank or some kind of faceless lender. We are really genuinely passionate about the e-commerce sellers we work with. We know how personal it is. And so we take everything that we do very seriously, and we take a very personal approach.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, this is Max Pittman with WriteForMe, and you're listening to Business Ninjas podcast, where we meet experts who are scaling their businesses. And today we're talking about 8fig with Dylan Hinton, who is the content marketing manager at 8fig. Dylan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys being here and being open to doing this with us. And we see that you've been at the company for just a little bit, but you've had a lot of experience in content marketing. So I think first, as we get this thing rolling, I just want to give you the floor to tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and what brought you to 8fig.
Yeah, so my name's Dylan. I'm based in actually St. Paul, Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes. And I didn't actually start my career in marketing at all. I started in sales in nonprofits. And then, like so many, I think, English majors, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go into education. I'm going to be an English teacher. And wow, teachers have a lot of energy and patience. It's not for me. But then when I left education, that's when I actually kind of fell into content marketing. And I say fell because I just knew I wanted to do something with storytelling and something with education. And marketing seemed like it would be a good fit. And sure enough, I felt like it was the perfect marriage between those two things. It's, for me as a content marketer, education is really at the heart of everything that I do. And so I have been now at 3 different startups. I love fast-paced environments. I love, lots of creativity. And so I've just found that content marketing is a perfect thing for me as I continue to want to do education, but just not in a school setting.
For sure. I love it. It's funny, so many of our content strategists, which are basically our CSMs here at WriteForMe, actually have teaching backgrounds as well and found themselves doing the exact same kind of career path, and now are in growth marketing roles and working for us as well. And but kudos to you for at least trying to be a teacher. I know it's tough for sure. I have a lot of family who's actually in the educational system, and it's something you definitely have to love and be willing to put in, your life to. But it's a different type of fulfillment, I will say, than probably our jobs.
I agree, and I think we've just uncovered possibly an education to marketing pipeline. That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'll put a pin in that for sure. Well, that's great. Well, I don't mean to also. I love to ask this question. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we've all imagined pitching ideas on Shark Tanks, or at least I have, I guess, or being the shark themselves.
Yeah.
So, I'd love it if you can give me 8fig's elevator pitch. Like, what problems does 8fig solve?
Yeah, totally. So, I think that's a great way to phrase it, because 8fig really was born from a problem. Our co-founders, who are based in Tel Aviv, who are Yaron Shapira, Asaf Dagan, and Roy Yelin, all have worked in e-commerce for years. They've worked in startups for years, and they have a ton of experience in payment processing, supply chain risk management. And they noticed that for small and medium-sized e-commerce businesses, there were so many unique challenges that they faced when it came to growing. Like, a lot of people can get started selling on Amazon and Shopify, but they kind of hit a plateau at a certain point because they run into a lot of cash flow issues. Mm-hmm. So 8fig is really that sort of growth engine that enables sellers to scale to their potential. So we combine funding with actually tools to optimize their healthy cash flow so that they can stay healthy while they grow. Right now, we have offices in Tel Aviv, Israel, and Austin, Texas, and we're always growing.
I love the origin story, though. It's great. Kind of similar to what we were just talking about. It's finding out where there's value in helping companies grow. It's essentially it's funding, right? And getting
exactly.
the money they need to promote their brands or prevent their their solutions or even their retail type experiences. So yeah, I'm curious when the company started.
Yeah, so the company started in 2020. So a lot of growth in a short period of time. And I think not a coincidence that it happened during a time when you saw, global supply chains breaking down, and e-commerce companies and e-commerce in general just started to boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it sounds like e-commerce is pretty much the top vertical that you guys are serving. So can you tell me a little bit, I guess, about like who your target audience is? Do they have to have a specific type of revenue? Are they in a specific type of industry? Is that fairly broad? Just kind of understand who your sales team wants to talk to.
Yeah, and actually, 8fig doesn't have a sales team. It's something that makes us a little bit unique. We really lean on our marketers and word of mouth to spread the news about 8fig. We have a lot of very happy sellers. So we work with only e-commerce, which is also something I think that's very unique about us. A lot of funders will fund brick and mortar stores as well, but we focus very specifically on e-commerce. And then experienced sellers. So for us, that means 6 months with revenue exceeding 100,000 in the last year, or monthly revenue exceeding 3,000 in the last 3 months. So it's people who already know that they have a product that's a hit. They already know how to sell. They already feel confident, but they're hitting that very common barrier of their cash flow is so tied up in their supply chain that they're not able to scale at the rate that they know that they can, and do so safely without stocking out and damaging their rankings on various e-commerce platforms.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, I mean, really anything you can think of online that you might buy, like that could be an 8fig seller. We have some really fun products that we fund. We have like a design forward fountain for cats that I saw someone does. I'm a cat person. I have cats. Very fun. Foldable kayaks, like extendable cheese boards, anything you can imagine. People are selling. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. It sounds like it's a very kind of specific type niche to where the revenue of these companies and where they're at in their growth phase is the biggest thing for what you are looking for what the team is looking for, right?
Exactly. It is really hard for these e-commerce companies to grow when they're sort of constricted by the amount of cash they have on hand. And that's something that just is never going to go away in e-commerce. You always have all these very like upfront hefty amounts that you have to pay for inventory and shipping and marketing. And so we kind of call that the cash flow crunch that sellers can get stuck in, where they're paying for their next batch of inventory with the revenue from the first. And that just means you don't have enough cash on hand to grow your business. And so that's really who we're aiming to help, because we have the tools, we have the funding. You combine them both, and it's really a winning plan. We actually call ourselves 8fig, as in 8 figures in revenue in a year. And so something that we're always excited to celebrate is getting another seller to that 8-figure mark.
I love it. So why are customers choosing you, over competition? And I don't know what that competition even looks like, but I'm just curious, like, what is that secret sauce that you're providing?
I think we work really well with funders who don't want to go the traditional funding route. Bank loans can be really hard to come by. You have to meet a lot of standards. You have to do a credit check. We don't require that. And you have to offer a lot of history. And then a lot of our other, I would say, our competition kind of operates more on like the big lump sum that can put sellers into debt really quickly, and it's not very flexible. And so we actually do a supply chain first model where we fund individual stages of the supply chain. And so instead of a big lump sum of like $100,000 at the beginning of the year, we're giving sellers what they need when they need it to pay for their stages. And then they can kind of conserve that other cash flow to buy more inventory when, seasonality peaks and flows. So we just had a seller go viral on TikTok, and that can happen a lot. You can one day have exactly what you would predict to be your typical amount of orders, and you have the inventory prepared for that. But then some influencer on TikTok finds your product, you go viral, and suddenly you're getting thousands more orders than you're prepared for. If you've gone with a bank or if you've gone with one of our competitors, you might not have the ability to ramp up the amount of capital and adjust your plan in order to order more and avoid a stock out. Stock outs in e-commerce are horrible. Nobody wants to stock out. And so I think we offer a much more flexible approach to capital and to just funding in general.
Yeah. Yeah. That was going to be kind of what my thought process was, which is it sounds like, you guys offer a lot of flexibility with funding versus, potentially like a bank or a loan. It's a lot more rigid. It's here's this, here's what you owe us in interest.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, a lot more barriers and hoops to jump through as well. So it sounds really interesting. I can't wait to figure out what product I can sell.
I know. That's what I've been thinking about since I started here. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
what do I want to start?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have ideas. None of them physical products except for one. And it
Can I ask what it is?
yeah. Well, it's something that like I've seen before, but a different type of design. And it's something that for me, I don't have an issue with cleanliness or germs or anything like that, but there's just something about touching door handles when you're going out of a bathroom that just kind of like I just hate to do. I use my sleeve or I use the napkin or whatever. And I've seen these. They're actually basically for your feet to open up a door. It's like I call it a foot pole, basically. My product was a little bit of a different type of design. I just needed someone who can have a 3D printer to figure out how to build this out and build me a prototype.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, hit us up when you're at the qualifications.
I will. I love it. So what's like, from your, being on the marketing side, like what's the biggest challenge that you guys are facing from the marketing perspective right now?
I think e-commerce it can be a very complex industry.
Mhm.
And things are always changing, especially with some of these big channels like Amazon and Shopify. There is so much to stay on top of. And something that we really pride ourselves on is staying on top of that for our clients and for our audience, because we want to be a space where they can go and they don't have to track these things on their own. They don't have to stay on top of e-commerce trends. They don't have to, go hunting down changes in the way that Amazon's algorithm is working. We are providing that information for them. So it's a little bit of a challenge to stay on top of that, but it's an exciting one because it requires us, I think, to always be staying on our toes, to have less of a rigid, maybe from a content marketing standpoint, a less rigid content roadmap, and just say, you know what, we're going to write about what is applicable and what is relevant to people, because I feel like in e-commerce, if you're not ahead, you're behind. And if you post something even a day late, people are already moving on to the next thing. So it's really exciting, but it definitely is a little bit less of a structured, I would say, marketing approach than maybe a lot of other places, for the better.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Yeah. I hear so much on social these days about like drop shipping. Oh, you can just do this, and they make it sound like so easy. And I know it's not. It's never that easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So that's great. So it seems like the focus is on really kind of educating the market based on what the trends are in the market as well. Okay.
Exactly.
So like how are you from like a marketing perspective, like trying to get the business to like stand out in addition to like, trying to understand these trends? Are you guys like focused on, doing any outbound? Are you focused on events? Like how are you guys thinking about marketing to help the business stand out?
Yeah, content is actually one of our biggest, I would say, pillars. The e-commerce community is a community that craves information, and they crave education as well. And so we lean very heavily into that. For example, we do webinars all the time with experts in the industry, so that we can share everything from sort of trending tips to, we just did one on international expansion. We try to cover really everybody, from someone who maybe like you has a great idea for a product, but hasn't even begun to build a prototype and you're far from selling, to someone who's been selling for, 3-4 years and is really comfortable. We want to provide information that is relevant for everyone, because we are both funding and really tools. I think that goes really well. It goes hand in hand in a way that, like I mentioned earlier, I think for our competitors, not so much. So we do a lot of webinars. We have one coming up on the 22nd. Actually, that's going to be really interesting. It's called the Seller Showdown. And it is Amazon and Shopify experts discussing which platform might be the better fit for you. So if you're someone listening and you're trying to decide, those are really the big two. So we've got two people who are going to tell you exactly how it is. And I'm excited for that one. And then, we update our blog constantly. That's going to be just more tips and tricks, industry information, everything you need to know as an e-commerce seller. We're constantly adding as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That webinar sounds really interesting. So you got someone from Amazon and Shopify on a podcast or webinar together, and they're going head to head to educate the market. Wow, that's really exciting.
It's going to be, and they're great. They're experienced sellers. They've done a ton in their industry. I mean, they're thought leaders in their own right, but they're also really who I think a lot of e-commerce sellers want to be one day. And so, and they're really transparent. They're really fun. We're kind of theming it around a fight night kind of experience. So I think as much great content as there is going to be in there, it's also going to be pretty fun.
That's awesome. Wow, I kind of want to be there.
You can register.
Yeah, we'll make sure we can get people to the link or sign up page at the end of this as well. So before we get there though, just I'm curious, like what are the plans coming up for this year? Like how are you scaling and growing? Like what's something I guess that you and the team want to celebrate maybe a year from now?
Oh, I love that. Well, our growth has been it's been huge. Like I said, e-commerce in particular since the pandemic, since 2022 has kind of exploded. And in the last year alone, we had over 2000% growth in our applications. So people are out here, they are selling more, they are looking for ways to grow. And so that's something that we are consistently trying to meet. And we're also really rolling out more robust tools and features to go along with our capital. So we launched a sales dashboard at the very end of last year that involves, ways to track your sales, checking your COGS against industry benchmarks, and sales forecasting. And that's been really huge for a lot of our sellers. And then just last week or this week, we launched Freight with 8fig, which is a brand new feature. It's a more streamlined freight booking experience for our current clients. Mm-hmm. You can get better pricing, better repayment terms, and you can even pay with your capital from 8fig. So you don't have to handle through an external vendor. A lot of our sellers, they're working alone or maybe with one other person. And so we're really focused on getting those tools that helps them save their time, become more efficient, and grow without, having it take over their entire life.
Yeah. Wow. A lot going on. Sounds like it's a really exciting time here with all these tools that you guys are rolling out to help people get more transparency and funding in the process as well. Seems like a really exciting time to be there.
It definitely is. And we actually just got a new office in Austin, Texas. And so I think that's also been a really exciting thing. The team is growing very quickly. So a year from now, hopefully, knock on wood, we're going to see even more people at 8fig who are passionate about the mission and are excited about, helping e-commerce sellers really accomplish their dreams.
Yeah, maybe even some sellers on the team.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have a couple sellers on the team as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this has been really awesome to really understand a little bit more about the company, who you guys are working with, what the best fit customers look like for you, and kind of what the roadmap looks like. So as we wrap things up here, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Anything that our listeners need to know about you or the company that we haven't covered?
Oh, that's a great question. I would just say 8fig is as much a people-driven organization as it is a data-driven one. I think in our content marketing and through a lot of our efforts, we're really focused on showing that the sellers and the employees are all at the heart of everything that we do. We're not a big national bank or some kind of faceless lender. We are really genuinely passionate about the e-commerce sellers we work with. We know it's people who want to escape the 9-to-5 grind. Sometimes it's families who want to build generational wealth. Whatever it is, we know how personal it is. And so we take everything that we do very seriously, and we take a very personal approach.
Yes, as you should. It's very relationship driven, and that's what people are looking for. They're looking for trust. They're looking for relationships. They don't want to for me, it's like I want to make sure I'm working with a company that I can trust, and I don't want to have to go and find another company or find more funding or do this, over again every single year, right? It's that's what I'd be looking for, is someone that can really be a partner for me.
Exactly. And that's our goal too. We want to get everyone to those 8 figures and beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, where can people find you guys? And let's talk really quick about that webinar coming up.
Yeah, definitely. So you can find us at 8fig.co. That's 8, the number 8, fig is in the fruit.co. And we're on every social media channel. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And our TikTok is pretty active. So like I said, we've got that webinar coming up. There'll be some previews for that. That's on February 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern. And you can register for that on our website. And then we also are going to a physical event. It is Prosper, and it is March 13th through 15th, and that's in Las Vegas. That's one of the biggest e-commerce events of the year. So we're very excited to be back and to be meeting people. So if you're going to be there, definitely come say hi.
Perfect. You guys gonna have a booth?
We are going to have a booth, yeah. And then we actually have our one of our employees, Andrew Washburn, will be giving a talk on predictable freight in an unpredictable world, which I think is going to be really, really valuable, especially as the state of freight is always changing, as sellers know. So definitely check that out as well. That'll be a keynote address.
I love it. And we can include this, the webinar information and the link in our bio for this. And and then the events in Vegas coming up. So you guys got that. There's a lot going on, and so it seems like for you guys, it's going to be a really busy year. And hopefully, anyone who's going to be in Vegas can go and see you guys at your booth and get to know Andrew a little bit and see what you guys got going on. So it's really exciting. I'm glad we could do this today, and I appreciate your time, Dylan. I really enjoyed the conversation. I feel like I've definitely learned a lot about you and the organization, and we definitely appreciate you being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was an absolute delight.
Great. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Thank you.